All right, all right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. This is Gabrielle here on the SDR Hotline. Really, just thank you so much, Sales Hacker, for creating the space for us to be here. I have my guest here, Francisco, who I have recently met. Just a beautiful human being, and I'm so glad that you're here. Francisco, maybe for folks who might not be familiar with who you are, would you be open just to sharing a quick little introduction or a long introduction if you want about yourself?
Absolutely. So to kind of frame my life and frame who I am, one of the things that I always like to say is no matter where I go, I'm always on a roll. And that's my cheesy joke of the day. And the reason why I say that is because I was born with a physical disability, so I am in a wheelchair. But the cool thing is that not only am I on a roll everywhere I go, but I also have the best seat in the house. And I know it's a little tough. It's a little tough walking into any room and knowing I got the best chair and I brought it in, so I didn't need to pay for it, which is kind of cool. So I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Went to college in Rhode Island, where I faced blizzards, hail, snow, and everything in between. And now I live in Tampa, Florida. And throughout all these journeys and throughout everything I've been through, I've realized that I'm powered by people to make an impact, but also that when we lean into the unknown and the uncomfortable, we grow in ways we never thought possible. And we start to see that life is this adventure and this journey of discovery that is waiting for us to take action.
100%. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that was a new one. You have the best seat in the house. Like I took it kind of like figuratively at first, so that's why I laughed. I was like, oh yeah, like okay, cool. They're always place. No, well, thank you so much for being here. And I think just to get started, would love to even learn more about like your professional journey. So where did you start, and then where are you at right now?
So this is going to be a little bit of breaking news because I haven't shared it yet on LinkedIn, but I'm looking forward to sharing it. And that is that I'm going to be joining Drift, and I am so pumped and couldn't think of a better way to make an entrance in a way, right? And it's been an amazing journey throughout my life and throughout just meeting people who who have inspired me, who have motivated me. You know, one of the things that I say about life is that it is this amazing journey of influencing and being influenced, and that our lives are made richer by the people we meet and the stories we hear. And I'm excited for this next step in my journey and to become a part of Drift and really to elevate those around me and to elevate myself in ways I never thought possible.
Oh my God, Francisco! I mean, you told me earlier this week, or was it last week? I can't remember because
Yeah.
COVID and what is time anymore. But wow, thank you so much for sharing that news here. What an honor! How exciting! I'm just as excited as I was when we talked earlier. But that is amazing. And I think what's also really interesting. So, I mean, this is the SDR hotline, right? And
Mhm.
when I initially got introduced to you, I was like, all right, hey, this is more like a marketing background, but let's figure it out, right? Because you seem
For
like an
sure.
awesome human being who has so much to share that so many people could probably
Mhm.
benefit from. And I think one of the big things that you had shared with me was like the idea around like the thing that sells you is you. So would you care to walk me through like how you got to that phrase and like
Mhm.
what it means, like just what it means to you or what
Mhm.
inspired it to begin with?
I think, you know, when think people that we remember in our lives, we remember them for this kind of unapologetic commitment to values of kindness, of gratitude, of helping others and elevating others, right? So that's what in marketing, in sales, or in customer success, in everything that you do, the ultimate measure of who you are is if the person on the other side of the line knows if they have a problem that you will answer the phone. And how do they know that? they know that because you've been vulnerable and you've expressed your values and your interests and your passions, right? Because that's what we remember. We remember the people who are themselves, who are authentic and genuine in everything that they do. And that's how I approach life, and that's how I approach everything. Because if you're able to create champions within your organization, no matter what role, what department they are, people will remember that, because we are creatures that are driven by emotions. And the more we can inspire greatness in others, and the more that we can be a strategic partner in everything that we do, then people will remember that.
I love it. I love it. And I think, there's something, I think when you shared this with me, what I thought was really impactful about this was just taking that moment to reflect on the reps who I work with, right? The folks who are on my team. I have one rep in particular a few weeks ago. They had shared, they were kind of conflicted because they had their voice, right? They had their authentic self, but then, like working at Gong, kind of really big presence. There's a very strong Gong voice as well. They're like, I don't really know how to balance the two between trying to emulate the voice of Gong and the voice of myself. So if someone came to you and was sharing those pieces, what would you share with them? What kind of advice might you impart onto them?
Mhm. I think one of the first things that I usually, that is a great tool for me, is thinking about my why, right? My why is to elevate others and to kind of empower them to know that they can elevate those around them to tap into their potential, right? So that's kind of the lens by which I make every decision and by which I view the world. But then let's take that a step further. How does that fit into the story of what you do every single day? And I think about my career, my journey at Drift, and kind of like the synergy that I see is Drift is about simplifying the process, making people feel empowered, making the customer the driver of every single interaction, and making them the hero. And that's what I'm about, right? And then when you start to see how I share my why and my story, and you see how it fits with my professional world, then that makes you resonate, because you aren't just saying something that anybody else can say. You're saying something that is unique to you and something that everybody will remember. The more you can personalize and the more that you can connect deeper beyond the surface level, that will lead to just amazing discoveries and amazing outcomes in life. And if there's one tip or one thing that I learned from Sarah Blakely, is that when you have a why that goes beyond you, you can put those self-doubt fears away. They'll always be there, but you have
Mm,
something stronger with
yeah.
it. And
Oh, you just shared a word. Okay. Because I think I'm gonna get vulnerable a little bit as well, if you don't mind. But a few years ago I had a pretty big breakdown. And in that breakdown, I got arrested, I got a criminal record, and I came out of that situation not really being able to have the same amount of job prospects, if any, at all. And even as I was applying to the position at Gong, I was like, oh man, I love it. It's amazing. I feel like this is the place for me, 100%. Like company, boss, people, mission, all of it. And I just remember, I think in the past I would have doubted whether or not I would be acceptable, right? Or that people would like let me in given my background. But I remember thinking this thought of and saying it out loud, like almost every day, multiple times a day, like, this is bigger than me. Like, this is bigger than the past. This is bigger than a blip, like on my record, truly.
mhm.
And I think like what you had shared of really being able to find your why and dig into that, like that helped me. Like having that frame of mind really helped me. I mean, granted, not everything is all about like having a record necessarily, and like maybe not getting a job, but even thinking about, all right, hey, like in reaching out to prospects, should I personalize? Should I not? Is somebody going to respond? Or are they not? If I call, are they not going to like me? If we take that moment to dig back into our why, like how much more powerful, right, could we be? What do you think really helps you find yours?
I think it was thinking about what matters to me and what's valuable to me. And I think about my journey through LinkedIn and through becoming known on LinkedIn as a LinkedIn sales star. And for me, what was important to me was gratitude, right? So I post every week. I call it Gratitude Sunday, and I kind of recap all of the people that I met in that week and 1 to 2 sentences of how they have impacted my life, right? So it's just that weekly exercise that kind of not only fills my life with gratitude and this like re-energizing force, but it also really what it does is that around the people in my life, whether in close proximity, right, in the geographic area or throughout the world, it lets them know that there is someone there that's rooting for them, that's championing them. And that's powerful because, again, like when it goes beyond you, it's amazing. And it's amazing because you leave something that will forever connect you to others, and it'll connect you on a much deeper level than on a much deeper level. And how I got there was asking myself those tough questions. What is my story? What do I want to be known for? What is my purpose? And I realized that those are not easy questions, but those are questions that I asked myself as a young kid and trying to understand, you know, why was I born with a physical disability? All it means is that I'm in a wheelchair everywhere I go, but the possibilities are all around me. And yes, I may face a couple of steps or two, but that doesn't mean I can't corral a couple of my friends and be carried up like royalty, right?
Yeah, you have a story for this. I love that story that you told me earlier this week about essentially just being stuck in your dorm room while there was like a blizzard going on. But yeah, can you just like illustrate that in action for us?
Yeah. So it was my first year of college back in 2012, and I had been told that there are only mild winters in Rhode Island.
They lied.
I know.
They lied.
I mean, technically, the way I look at it is a mild winter for somebody that's lived there their entire life. I guess it's apparently a blizzard where I'm stuck in my dorm for 3 days, and you know, I was there for 3 days. Eventually, a couple of my friends were gonna go out with shovels and like shovel around the neighborhood. And do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like I just want to be out and about and do whatever. So I was like, yeah, I was still kind of stuck between snow and outside, but it was amazing, right? Because what I learned is if you're vulnerable and you ask for help and if you're really genuine about it, people want to help you. Yes, nothing in life is deserved, but there are many helping hands that want to help us get to where we want to go. And when we do that, it's amazing because then every victory becomes a collective victory.
Ooh. Ooh, that's so good. I love that collective victory. I would just want to for folks who are tuning in, I would love if you can maybe like tag someone or a group of people who you feel like has been a helping hand to you. I already know there's a couple of people who are top of mind. I think one like Brooklyn Nash and Sam Hembry with Sales Hacker. See, like this would not be happening. I would not be talking to you right now. And Amy as well. Like I would not be talking to you right now and just receiving this blessing. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I'm also just thinking through like, you know, even trying to relate it back to whether, you know, just like a frontline sales rep, especially SDRs, right? Like I came from the SDR world. I had my, you know, like my first 3 weeks where I was just an anxious mess, or even like going into the AE position and feeling like an anxious mess. And I'm constantly bringing people on board to my team. I think I have 8 people on my team right now. 5 of them are ramping, right? So like everyone is new. And I think one of the biggest things that I hear is that people are like overwhelmed, or they feel as though, you know, they have to be perfect even, you know, like there are all those things that are going on. And I feel like there's a message that you're sharing that is so comforting, that's so reassuring. And it's almost like what is going to help people unlock that door that will ease the overwhelming feelings, that will ease the anxiety, and just allow them to really like show up, be their best selves, like their full, loving, like bright, luminous selves, right? And be able to connect that much deeper with the people that they're reaching out to.
One of the strategies or one of the tactics that has really worked for me is to be very intentional and very mindful. So when I wake up every single day, I ask myself, what is one thing that I'm grateful for? And when I go to bed, I ask myself, what is one thing that I'm looking forward to? Because that helps me reset my mindset no matter where it is that day. It either makes it stronger if it was already strong, and if it was kind of veering off, by asking myself a question, I'm not assuming and I'm not going down a rabbit hole that may or may not be true, right? Why questions are so important. And then the next, if those two don't work, or they don't work as much as I wanted them to, the next thing I say is, who could I reach out to today that I haven't talked to in a while, who would love a check-in, right? Or whether it be sharing a podcast that I like, or reading an interesting, or sharing an article that I recently read. That's how you make people feel valuable, right? And as an SDR, if you can do that, right, dive deeper into the conversations that you're having. Really listen to what that other person is saying, right? Really look into those deeper themes. And if you can then follow up with it, whether through a video or a text or a podcast or an article, that's what's going to make you stand out. Yes, it takes a little bit more time, but if you make it personal and you make that person feel like they are your number one focus, they'll remember that. And I think one of the things that we forget a lot is, just because it is a no now, it doesn't mean you can't transform that into yes through dedication and through caring and through just being active and present. So many people, they get a no and they're like, okay, this isn't worth my time. I mean, we have to be mindful with every opportunity, absolutely. But if it's something where you know in your heart that there is that alignment, that there is that potential of creating a win-win, then just keep following up and find ways to follow up that's like natural and organic to you. For me, one of the tools that I've used is video, right? Because think about it, you write 1 to 2 sentences in a video under 1 minute, that's going to make you stand out. And they'll remember that, because that's a very personal tool, because a person can see your energy and your smile and your passion, which is AKA why I'm like smiling wide. I'm always smiling wide, but those but those are just some things that have helped me, right? Because in my career, a lot of my career has been in marketing and business development and in sales, and I'm now making the transition to customer support, customer success. And the reason why I made it is because I'm a relationship driven person, and if I can help somebody unlock their potential, reach their rock star goals, and be seen as a great resource within a company just through that one interaction, then my day's awesome. But you can do that too as an SDR, or in any role that you are. If you are a resource for someone, that is something that they'll remember.
Yes. Golly. Like, I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. I wrote something down. I had to just go back to it because I'm just so moved right now. I think one of the big things that I see, or that I'm observing, it's like that question of like how to even dive deeper, right? Because you just had mentioned that of when you're reaching out to someone, like make people feel valuable, dive deeper, really listen and look deeper into like what's happening right now. But like, what's been your approach for doing just that? Or maybe do you have an example of how that's played out in the line of work that you've been in?
Definitely. I think one of the things that I do, and you noticed it, that was very intentional. Like when I jumped on the call, the first thing I said, it was a cheesy pun or cheesy joke, right? And when I've done that, what it does, it kind of removes, and I'm talking more of an in-person context, in like conferences, and I say that, like, I just see the other person, just like their attention just completely go away, and then be like, okay, he's just another human. Not that I wasn't before, but now it's kind of like more explicit, right? When you address the elephant in the room,
Yes.
there's no more elephant. But in terms of In terms of doing it.
Okay, cool. I didn't know.
Or sometimes I'll be like, man, what was the toughest part of getting here? All those stairs I had to go through. You see
Oh,
the person like trying to work through it, and we're like, so how do you do that? But see, right, because they're seeing that I'm being vulnerable and that I'm being honest. And I think one of the cool questions that I've asked, or one of the questions that I really love to ask, is like, what is your dream this year? What do you want to accomplish? Right? Think about it. That's a deeper question than what's your need, or what's your problem, or what's your challenge, right? Think about how you can make the other person think about a long-term vision. And if you can find a way to incorporate yourself in that vision, then that's powerful, because now you're making the person the hero. It's not like you're the hero coming in to be like, okay, here are all the answers, but you're helping the person come to that conclusion, and come to that conclusion where they feel they're the driver and they're the impactful force behind it.
My heart is like just opening up little by little. Thank you. I'm like over here. I'm like taking notes so I can bring this back to my team when I go back to work. So no, this is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think there was something that we talked about earlier this week. So you just got announced as a LinkedIn sales star, top 100. Congrats. Yeah.
Thank you.
I how to put this? I think I've had a journey of starting to engage more in LinkedIn or on LinkedIn, and I think I could only imagine, because based on the conversations that I'm having with folks who are like, they want to post, like they want to share, they want to have that engagement on LinkedIn, especially, but there's something that holds them back. And I know you had shared a phrase of like, what can I say that hasn't already been said? I've had those thoughts so many times where I'm like, okay, cool. Like I just read Kevin Dorsey and I read Morgan Ingram, and like I'm not going to just keep on. Like, I'm like, what can I say that they haven't already said, kind of thing. But I'm just wondering like how you're able to silence that voice. Right. And like, what is you've shared about the gratitude post, but it's almost like, what is that word? What is that gospel to share to someone who's like, I want to, and yet they're still holding back for fear of just sounding like a broken record.
Definitely. I think for me, going into it was having a strategy, and a strategy based around accountability. And what I mean by that is, back around a year ago, before I really got into LinkedIn, I thought about, exactly that. What can I say that hasn't already been said? But two, what can I talk about that is unique to my life, unique to my story, something that I can talk about and own and be like, this is like my child per se, in a way. And that's how I came about. My first intention was, I'm going to post once a week, no matter what. I'm going to post once a week, and I'm going to do it on Sunday, and I'm going to talk about gratitude, right? Because that's a topic that has been very evident and very present in my life when I think about my journey from Puerto Rico to Providence College to Tampa, right? I think about how the reason why I've succeeded the way I've succeeded and continue to succeed is because of my mentors, my friends, and my community that give me their time, their wisdom, their insight. But how can I take this from a one-on-one basis and create it into a bigger movement? Because gratitude is something that grows, right? The more we see it, the more we want to be a part of it. And in doing so, right, I mentioned to my mentor, hey, I want to get involved on LinkedIn and I want to post once a week. But now I wasn't just holding on to this, I was sharing it with the world and sharing it with somebody that I trusted that would keep me accountable. Because when we feel accountable, when we feel like we got to do something, yes, it's a little like wonky, right, to do at first.
Yeah.
But that's how, and if we think about what is a breakthrough, if not the accumulation of knowledge gained from previous attempts, that changes our whole perception.
Yes.
And if we think about each and every challenge as an opportunity to thrive, then you're taking it one more level and one more level. Because think about it, everything we do right now, we weren't born knowing marketing, and we weren't born knowing sales or how to do a cold call or how to post on LinkedIn. But through time, through effort, and through the people around us, we became superhuman in doing it. And if if your post or your like gets 10 likes, 20 likes, 30 likes, whatever it may be, think about it instead from a place of conversation and a place of connection. How can you use that comment section to drive your message deeper, to ask questions, and to just be like, hey, I just want to connect with you for 15 minutes. I don't want to sell you. I don't want to pitch you. I just want to get to know you. And the funny thing is, a lot of the successes and partnerships and the different things that I've had began with a conversation of just me wanting to get to know another person. When you go in with this intention of genuinely wanting to understand a person first, then that transforms every interaction you have in life.
Yes. Thank you. You shared oh my gosh, you shared so much. That's like, it's just so good. And when you're talking about the accountability piece, I remember it just kind of surfaced up a memory that I had. I grew up playing sports, basketball and volleyball. I played competitively all year round and in club and everything. So I remember I was having just a hard time one year, and I just wasn't really quite as committed to basketball, specifically in club. And I remember I missed a game, and I told my coaches beforehand that I was going to be missing. And I remember the head of the entire basketball program called me, and he kind of ripped me a new one. It's probably the best way to put it. And but I remember going to practice, and he approached me and he apologized for being as direct and blunt as he was. But what he had shared with me was that he's like, people are counting on you. Like people want you here. Like people miss you when you're gone. Like your absence 100% has an impact, like, and not in a great way. So like, I think it was like a pleading to show up and to be there and to be present. And I think like having someone, that's like almost the message to share a little bit, which is like, yes, like holding yourself accountable, but also realizing that whether it's on LinkedIn or even on your team, right? Like when you're thinking through, right, how can I hit my number? How can I hit my goal? How can I reach out to more people? How can I connect more? It's like, there are people who are going to benefit from your presence. Like there are people who are counting on you to show up. So like, it's not to say like, abandon your own self, but also recognize like the impact that you can have, whether it's on your team, with your boss at your company, or even for the folks who are connected with you and are coming across your content as well. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for that reminder. All right, cool. I know I feel like we've gone through like the majority of the questions that I have, and I know I want to say somebody had posted in the app Slido. I'm not able to bring the Slido questions over into this chat, but someone was really curious around what was your journey to getting a job at Drift?
Oh boy, that's a fun story, one that I love to share. And kind of give you some background. So Drift it was founded in Boston, Massachusetts, which is kind of like my second home after living for 4 years in Rhode Island. Right, I've always been a huge champion of the tech scene, the tech startup scene in Boston, and when they opened an office here in Tampa, I was so pumped. I was like, a slice of my life is coming down here. And the reason for how I got into Drift was exactly a lot of the things that I've shared, of being open and honest and vulnerable and connecting with people and listening to their podcast, commenting on their content, commenting on Drift's content, right? Because that's what's going to make you known. And when you comment and don't just kind of like, hey, I want a job, that's not gonna get you. That's not gonna get you very far.
In there and drop your resume into somebody's direct message. Please don't do that.
But if you comment, right, and this is my golden rule. I'm going to share a golden rule of my life of engaging on LinkedIn. I always shoot for writing more than 2 sentences, because that's a fleshed out thought, and the person can see, right? If I'm posting and then another person comments more than 2 sentences, and I'm like, okay, this really impacted them. They really felt this in their heart, right? Because when you have to write 2 sentences, you have to write more than just thank you or this is awesome, or whatever short form wording you want to use. And I just kept just getting to know people, and it's like, hey, can I just have like 10-15 minutes of your time? Like, I just want to know what the culture is like, what the people are like. What was your journey to drift, and what was your biggest achievement, right? Because when we tell another person, hey, I think you're somebody that I need to meet because of the awesome things you've accomplished, right? In the mind of that other person, like, that is so awesome. Somebody thinks really highly of me. Maybe I should just hop on a 10-15 minute call, right? And the thing is, if you go into a call with energy and with questions, and you feel the other person, and you make the other person feel that they are investing their time in somebody greater, right? We have to give value before we get value, and understand how you can make the people around you successful is one of the biggest things that we can do. And that's how I got into Drift, by being my honest, open, and vulnerable self, and wanting to connect more deeply with others.
I wish I could double click on that, like upvote a bajillion times. I think about like even the journey to Gong. I was at a company. It was a fine company. No complaints about it. But I just remember I was doing this work, and I was creating these resources, and we never had an opportunity to actually put those resources into practice and see, like, all right, hey, like, is this project actually going to work out the way I think it's going to work out? So I just remember being kind of frustrated, and I was like, rather than being frustrated and like kind of having an unraveling internally because of that frustration, how about I'm like, I think these are valuable, and maybe I can't get value out of them right now, but maybe somebody else will. And so I remember just like, I was like, I'm going to just be in a giving mood. And I was like, hey, like, I have resources like an SDR to AE enablement plan, a presentation deck for applying for an SDR manager if you have to do a business plan presentation. There were a few other materials in there, but I just posted it on LinkedIn. And I promise you, I think this is the post that like my now boss Willie must have seen. Like somebody in his network liked it. And so he had reached out to me and was like, hey, I've been enjoying the content that you've been posting. Would you be interested in learning more about an SDR manager position here? So there's even that, like, I think that's like a huge piece to remember of, hey, if there's a place that we want to get to, if there is a vision that we're holding for ourselves and we're not able to get there yet, right? It's like, hey, like, what can we do? Like, what can we offer? Where can we interact? How can we connect with others, right? And be of value to them in order to really unlock that, whatever it's the experience or the exposure, the insights, the intelligence, some perspective that can help move us to that next step. But if we're only focusing on ourselves, right, then we might not ever actually move to that next step that we want to get to. So yes. Okay, thank you. All right, wow. I don't have any other questions for you, Francisco. Is there anything that's like on your heart that you really just want people to know today before we hop off?
Oh, absolutely. This is my favorite quote, and it's by the writer of Winnie the Pooh, A. Milne, and he says, "You're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. You can be your greatest barrier, but you can also be your greatest champion." And if we pursue life as this journey of excellence, and this journey of being a beacon of hope for others, then your life becomes purposeful. Because think about it, there's somebody that got up today, and that person smiled because of having you in their life. But that doesn't mean we didn't stop striving to create a better place, more open, more honest, more transparent, and more empowering place for ourselves and those around us, because truly we can make every day extraordinary for ourselves and for others, because together we create greater.
Oh my God, you see this big old smile? I think they were talking about me with you. Well, Francisco, I gotta tell you, like I just really appreciate you coming on the show today and just being open and sharing and being vulnerable and just being yourself. It's so appreciated. It's so refreshing, and I felt so blessed to get to know you this past week. I hope that we continue our connection, and I I'm rooting for you from the highest mountaintop. I'm rooting for you at Drift and for every other opportunity to come your way. So thank you so much for being here.
It is a pleasure and an honor. I consider it my duty to pay it forward, because if I think about if somebody can rise faster and stronger because of having interacted with me, then dang, I'm doing something powerful. And I just look forward to this journey, to meeting more people, to being influenced in ways I never thought possible. But at the end of the day, to know that our lives are more purposeful and more powerful because of the people in it. Because the reason I thrive is because of my community. And to anybody who's on here, and to Gabrielle, you're now part of my community. Never forget that.
Thank you. We're going to have a block party. It's going to be fun. All right, Francisco. Well, thank you so much again. You have a wonderful day. And again, thank you so much.
You too.